Welcome to the show that takes up no more than 5 minutes of your time, but could help you gain massive real estate knowledge. It's 5 Minutes in Real Estate with best-selling author Shane Willis.
Hello, this is Shane Willis, the Pensacola real estate expert, bringing you today's episode of 5 Minutes in Real Estate. Today I'm actually going to take you first to a portion of a speech that I give down in Orlando about 3 years ago. I was down there for a summit. They asked me to come give a speech. I'm going to give you a portion of it. The speech itself was not long. It was about 7 minutes, but only about a minute and a half or 2 minutes of it pertains to today's episode. So I want to make sure I got that to you first. Then we'll come back and talk about why I'm sharing that particular part of it, because it's just as relevant on today's stuff as it was 3 years ago. Just a slightly different. So let's take you over to the summit real quick, and I'll be right back. So the other day I was at a barbecue with my wife. We were having some friends over, and a guy just out of the blue said, well, you know, Shane, in about 5 years, I want you to help me out to buy a house. And of course, my immediate, because I can't turn this off, why 5 years? Well, you know, 2 years ago, I just had a foreclosure. Oh, okay. And it stays on your credit report for 7 years. So I can't buy a house for another 5 years. That's not the case. And one of the reasons I bring up this story is I want you to find misconceptions in your business. And this is one. People think because they had a foreclosure or they had a short sale on their credit, and because it stays on there for 7 years, you can't afford to buy a house. The bankers won't let you. Now, a lot of people are shocked when they find out that I have personally had a foreclosure. I've personally had a short sale. If you know anything about me, you know that I owned a mortgage company when mortgages died. Meaning in 2007, my main income was from mortgages. It died. I couldn't afford the house I was living in, so I had a foreclosure. Just a couple of years ago, I bought another house. It takes time. It's not instantaneous, but it's darn sure not 7 years. So in your business, find a misconception, expose it, and I guarantee you, you'll find some hidden potential and probably some hidden sales. So I explained it to him, and I told him we've helped hundreds of people work through this, that he doesn't have to wait 5 years, and we decided we'd catch up for breakfast the next morning and talk about the program. So okay, so what I was talking about when I was talking about the summit was how the misconceptions of having a foreclosure or having a short sale can stop you from buying a property and stop it till you know, it's going to take you 7 to 10 years. Some people have even told me 5. Over this past weekend, I had someone come up with the same misconception. It wasn't about foreclosures or a short sale, but it was about bankruptcy. And I almost had the same conversation. Now, if you listened to the video just a second ago, or the audio, and I'll put a link to the video in the show notes. It's at the bottom of every page that we're on. You can actually see the YouTube video. But forgive the voice. I was pretty allergic. Is that a word? Sure. We're going to use that today, and you know what I mean, so we'll make it a Scrabble word. Allergic. My allergies were kicking in. That's why I was kind of stuffed up. But listen, I digress. Let me get back to what I was talking about with my client. They had filed bankruptcy, and it was about 2.5 years ago. And their credit score was a 690. Now, they were wondering how they got to a 690 only 2.5 years out of bankruptcy. Because everybody tells you got to be 4 years out of bankruptcy or 5 years out of bankruptcy in order to buy another house, which is just not the case anymore. It used to be, and if you'd have asked me when I give that speech down at the summit about bankruptcy, I would have told you 4 years makes more sense. But it's not necessarily required. Basically, the banks are looking at what you do since the bankruptcy. Have you rebuilt credit? Have you got stability? What caused the bankruptcy? So I want to kind of go over, because Lending Tree just came out with this report, and I wanted to kind of go over it. One of the things that they're finding, this report from LendingTree, what they found was that on average now, outside of a bankruptcy, it's only 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years and you qualify to buy another home. Now, how in the world is that possible? Well, they analyzed over 1 million loan applications, all kinds of stuff. The study found that 43.2% of Americans who filed bankruptcy were able to repair their credit back to a 640 credit score in less than a year. So, Shane, if I got a 640 credit score, I can buy a house? No, not necessarily. But 640 is a good start. What we really like to see is, a lot of them like to see 620. 640 is really much, much better. And there's a huge difference between a 620 and a 640, not only in eligibility for a loan, but if you do get a loan, what you would pay for it. If you got a 623, we might want to talk about trying to figure out how we can get you up to 640. But anyways, percentage of bankruptcy scores with 640 plus FICO scores. I put a whole graph from the LendingTree article. It says less than a year, there's 43.2%. After 2 years, 64.6%. So two-thirds of Americans after 2 years can get their score up over 640. And then after 5 years, it's, 75%, all kinds of stuff. But the reason I wanted to bring it up here is because they thought, just like in that speech I was given, the client that says, well, I have to wait 7 years because I got a foreclosure, they thought, well, because I have bankruptcy, I have to wait at least 5 years. Wrong. That is a misconception, and it's one that I wanted to address. I also put in last year's Ellie Mae's origination stuff. So they basically give me all of 2017's data. 53.5% of loans that were approved last year. So over half of loans that were approved had scores between 600 and 749. So everybody thinks you have to have that 760 credit score. And yes, if you have a 760 credit score and an 810 credit score, someone tried to tell me they had a 970 yesterday, but with the cap at 850, I just kind of looked and smiled. If you have that really good credit score, you're going to get the best rate possible. Sure. But what I don't want you to do, especially in this rapid appreciation market that we have, and I say rapid, it's because we've got a lack of inventory. We're not seeing double-digit appreciations like we saw in 2004, 5, and 6 that caused the bubble. We're only seeing single digits, mid-single digits, so 4, 5, 6%. And with the tax cuts and stuff of that nature, that may come down a little bit to only 3, 4, 5%. That's a good stable appreciation. And with that stable appreciation, I don't want those of you who have had bankruptcy 2, 3 years ago to think that you're out of the game. You're not. You may have to pay a little bit higher interest rate, but let's face it. I'm sitting here 2018 telling you that 6% interest rate may be a little higher. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? 2004, I was writing loan after loan at 6.5%. That was the prime rate. We were fantastic. Everybody loved it. So at 6%, you're still going to be paying lower than what you're paying in rent. Plus, you're going to be generating assets for yourself and hopefully some appreciation on top of that. So, I just wanted to address today's episode on misconceptions. If you've had a foreclosure, a short sale, because there's some people that are still dealing with that. And if you listen to the whole video, like I said, I'll put the link in, you'll find out that I had a foreclosure and short sales that I had to deal with on my own. So that is coming to a wayside, but that misconception that you still have to wait 5 or 7 years is wrong. The same applies on bankruptcy. It's just wrong. It's a misconception. Get yourself informed by talking to an expert. Don't just Google this stuff, because just like sicknesses, I was laughing with my wife yesterday. It's funny, you can get online and Google symptoms of a headache, and 30 minutes later, after you've gone down a rabbit trail, you've got a tumor. It's just so much information out there that you kind of need guidance. And it's not saying that's just me. I need guidance on all kinds of stuff. I hire coaches and experts in all kinds of areas of my life because I could Google it to death. But, I don't want to wind up with a tumor. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. As always, if you have not subscribed to get the tips, tricks, the links to this podcast sent to your inbox, get over to 5minutesinrealestate.com. That's 5minutesinrealestate.com. Also, if you have not gotten on Google Play or iTunes and subscribed to the podcast, I would appreciate it if you did that now. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a good comment. Be nice. And finally, If you found any value in this or any other episode on this nice, crisp April morning here in the Panhandle of Florida, make sure you share it on social media. I know we went over 5 minutes today, but I just know this information is going to help someone. Have a fantastic day.